And welcome to another exciting episode of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Tim DLGG. And with me tonight, I have the man behind the sound effects. That's Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, everybody. I'm back.
And we also have at PCN_Dirt on Twitter.
Yay! I wondered if the Screaming Ladies were going to show up or not.
Ah!
I was waiting for just the crickets to go off.
Do we have a cricket sound effect?
Oh, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah, just wait till I start talking about comics.
Oh, I get there's a louder cricket there somewhere around too.
And maybe Roddy Cat will join us later. We hopefully will see him and hear his thoughts on some comics for the week. But for now, make sure to go to our website, thekliqnation.com, where you can find previous episodes of the Comic Book Chronicles, comic book news, and reviews. On the homepage, there's links to our social media accounts. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google+. And while you're doing that, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, all the places you can listen to your favorite podcasts. And while you're on these different sites, make sure to give us 5-star reviews or give us a thumbs up. Recommend us to your audience or to your network. Help us expand our audience. We are part of the Code Slither Podcast Network. Go to cspn.us. Do it today. And while you're on the site, make sure to buy some Comic Book Chronicles merchandise by going to shop.cspn.us. So, for this 5th week of the month of May that just ended, sort of a slow week, but yet still a couple of important titles out, including what we're going to kick off the show with, Secret Empire #3. Right there. We see Captain Marvel and I guess Nova and Groot find the space alien Chitauri. So we were talking before the show, and I know myself and Doug both read this about 2 weeks ago, so it's kind of hard to remember what happened when from being the 2 weeks ago to now. But seeing the Chitauri wave on the cover makes me remember that we spent the hero stuck outside the planetary shield and sort of the stranded, desperate state that they're in as they're trying to keep fighting the good fight while also trying to get back to Earth. And actually, the issue I believe kicked off with following the cliffhanger from issue 2, where we saw another Steve Rogers save a woman from being attacked. So,
or save her for at least a little while.
Right. So there was that. Right. And then there was some moments with Cap, Hydra Cap, and talking to his cabinet, his Hydra new council of Hydra. I think we also saw Sam Wilson helping the Resistance. Oh, and also I think back, wasn't one of Nick Spencer's favorite characters also in this? Boomerang.
Oh yeah. Yep, he is.
Running some type of like nightclub.
Yeah, basically a lot of this issue is us catching up with lots of the players in the Marvel U who are not trapped. Anyone who's not trapped, that's who we sort of catch up with. Among them, Boomerang, who is dealing with, who's kind of set up a little fiefdom in Jersey. Now that a lot of the big bads have, were trapped in New York, so we catch up with them, and we catch up with various cells of the resistance and various forms that the resistance takes. So that's what a lot of this issue revolves around.
And I'll be honest with you, even though we've had this to read for a couple of weeks, I never got around to reading it. I've just lost so much interest in Secret Empire. We got a copy of Secret Empire 3 and what's the other one? Uprising that came out. We got those back before even number 2 came out. We got these, and I honestly just never read them. I've lost all interest in Secret Empire. It's just one of those events that feels kind of cookie cutter, like so many other events that Marvel has done. I don't know. I'm sure it's one of those things where eventually after the final issue comes out, I'll sit down and read the entire thing to get through it. But I just really have no excitement for this, really no interest. It's just kind of one of those like, meh. I know it's not going to matter. It's, it's whatever happens is going to be undone, or it's going to undo what's happened in the last year,
Right.
in the Marvel universe, whatever. Right. So it's just one of those where it's like, yeah, whatever. Just
I definitely admit to not being overly enthusiastic about this. And I'm not I have to admit I'm not the biggest fan of Andrea Sorrentino's art sometimes, and I think that in a book like this where there's just so many characters and so many locales and so many settings, it just rubbed me the wrong way. It just seems on the muddy side sometimes, and it takes me right out of the story, and I'm just sort of slogging my way through. But I can say that about the story in general, is that I'm just sort of trying to stick with it and slogging my way through. It definitely has its ups and downs. Like an up for me was the appearance of, like the hopefully real Steve Rogers, but then we have so many more revelations in this issue that are kind of disappointing, and it's kind of like, oh, seriously. And I'll just ring the spoiler bell another time for the reveal on the last page, which is kind of a cliffhanger, and you can sort of understand how this particular character can throw in with Hydra, but at the same time it's still disappointing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's kind of made this more of a drag to me, is that I definitely see where you guys are coming from, where there's a lot of, we've been through a lot of these alternate reality series now, forget even What Ifs, but like Age of Apocalypse and and this, that, and the other thing, where
House of M.
Right, where something changes and then every single character's role in the Marvel universe changes. And it's just about plugging and playing into that particular reality. And that's where we are in this setting. And I understand where you guys are coming from on that.
And that might be a good lead into the other Secret Empire book out this week, Secret Empire Uprising.
Sure.
So here we have, this actually kind of piggybacks off of Secret Empire number 2.
Yeah, it definitely dovetails in.
Where Black Widow has made it her new mission to assassinate Hydra Cap. And when she leaves the Resistance, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, stops her. And he, along with his teammates on the Champions, and then some extra recruits in Ironheart, Nadia Pym, Wasp, and the new Falcon join. And so instead of training them, she prepares them to be spies by infiltrating a Hydra youth choir. And they're doing tryouts for the youth choir, and they're trying to get down to, I think, like 40 kids. And once they do, they'll perform in front of Captain America himself. So what better way to take him out than getting next to him and then having him not suspect that a kid in this choir, would do the deed. So at least that's her plan. And of course, plans go south rather quickly. But the main thing, I think the main takeaway from Secret Empire Uprising is the champions. This, more than likely, this will fundamentally change the champions once Secret Empire ends, because they formed after Civil War II because they weren't happy with the way the adults were acting in the room, so to speak.
Right.
And now here they are teaming up with an adult that wants them to possibly commit murder if given the chance. How cool obviously they're not cool with that, but yet they're still working with her just because things are so bad.
Right.
So that's the kind of sort of moral dilemma taking place in the mini series.
Right. They have to go through something called, what was it? Ethical adjustment.
Yes.
And I thought that was pretty telling. I actually like this issue because it dealt mostly with the champions and their reaction to this direction that their team was taking. It definitely felt like this is the Hydra America version of the Hitler Youth. So that's obviously where this is drawing its inspiration from, with the choir and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So we could see the real world parallels there. But otherwise, this was an interesting story simply because it followed characters that we had become familiar with through the Champions series, including the freelancers.
Oh yeah, they do. Co-star here,
right? They do appear in this, and they actually act they act within character, but at the same time add a definite twist to the story. So I give who's writing this? Is this Flincer also?
No, this is whoever Landry and Cassara are.
Yeah, Landry. Tom Landry?
No, it's Derek Landy, like Pamela Landy from The Bourne Identity. Derek Landy and no, it's it. That's one writer, Derek Landy. Joshua Cassara on art. Yeah, so I got to give Landy a little bit of credit here for giving the freelancers a little bit of depth there and adding another perspective to the story. So, it wasn't the worst tie-in issue, to be honest. And like I was saying earlier, it does dovetail right into Secret Empire 2 and 3.
Yep. So those are the two Secret Empire books for the week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty much.
You're probably right, Dirt. You're probably right. In that you're probably going to appreciate this more as a collected edition, just reading it all the way through, and just saying, "Oh, okay, this is what happens. This is what's going to change. This is how it's going to change things."
In some ways, it feels like when there's a big movie out and everyone's like, "Oh, you got to see that movie," and the movie just really doesn't interest you very much, but everyone's like, "You got to watch it. You got to watch it." So eventually, at some point down the road, you'll rent it or it'll be on TV, and so you'll sit and watch it, and when it's done, you're like, all right, well, that's what that was, and that's why everybody thought it was a big deal, and you move on, and the time has passed, and there's not that great expectation that you got to love it, and that's probably what'll end up happening. And it's at some point down the line, I'll read it, and it'll be over, and everybody will have moved on to something else, so I'll just read it so I know what happens, and that'll be it, just to see what it was. And
I don't know, man. I mean, just very quickly before we move on to our next book, I mean, the last big Marvel event that I think the entire panel was excited about was probably Infinity, and it's been a while since Infinity. So, I definitely understand the concept and the idea of event fatigue at this point now.
Well, and I think even like Infinity, I didn't really care that much about like Thanos. I've never really, cared that much for him as a villain or as a character, or whatever. But I think the thing that excited me was it was different. Like
Right.
it felt like it was different. It wasn't the same group of people. It wasn't the same location. It wasn't the same fight, that you always get. It wasn't the same cookie cutter story outline that I feel like a lot of these are. So, it's whatever. It is what it is. All right. What next? What are we moving on to?
Should we do the Lazarus contract finale?
Let's see. What was that in
Teen Titans special?
There it is.
I thought it was an annual, but it's a special.
Yeah, it was not a big week for DC.
Yep, 5th weeks equal annual weeks.
Annual specials and late issues of Flash.
Okay.
So I read this before the show, last thing I read. And I guess it was all right. The big takeaway in the Lazarus contract is how it changed a couple characters' status quos. So Deathstroke siphoned Kid Flash's speed using his icon suit or something, whatever they call it, so he could go back in time and save his son Grant, who died fighting the original Teen Titans or Titans, whatever they were called back at that point, when Grant was working with Tive and got like a power boost that ended up killing him. So though he's sort of an anti-hero, he had at least good intentions of why he stole Kid Flash's powers and why he was trying to change time. Though you're not supposed to change time. So This also marked the Titans and Teen Titans meeting for the first time, yada, yada, yada. Jericho, another son of Deathstroke's, helped the Titans. They didn't really even defeat Deathstroke because all they did was go back in time themselves, changed an event which caused a backlash through time, which took the speed powers away from Deathstroke. But then he used since he had already tapped into the Speed Force, he just used his suit to go back into the Speed Force. But once you go into the Speed Force, you get trapped in the Speed Force, and the Titans and Teen Titans didn't want to leave him trapped in the Speed Force, so they sort of mind linked with adult white Wally West using Raven and Omen's powers, and they sent Flash and Jericho, I guess, into the Speed Force to pull Deathstroke out. Deathstroke was mad, but being in the Speed Force, he saw so many different things and got a different viewpoint on the world because the Speed Force is this magical place that he decided to hang up being Deathstroke. So that's where, I guess, Epilogue 1 started. Epilogue 2 dealt with Robin being mad at how foolishly Kid Flash trusted Deathstroke, which allowed Deathstroke to steal Kid Flash's powers. So Robin kicked Kid Flash off of the Teen Titans. And then Epilogue 3 dealt with the Titans, and the one event that ended up changing the past that sent the ripple effect into the present was Robin doing a karate move to white Wally West's chest, which stopped his heart for a couple moments, which is what ended up taking Deathstroke's Speed Force powers away. But then it also ended up causing him to have a pacemaker once he got back to the present, and he can't overstress himself. So now it looks like he might not be able to be the Flash anymore. So I felt like I said a lot of things, and a lot of things happened, but as for the series, just felt weird to me.
Wait, which Flash won't be able to be the Flash anymore?
Pre-52 Wally West.
Huh.
So yeah,
but that's like an old trope, if you remember. Like, we're talking like pre-crisis Wally West, where he always had health issues with tapping into his speed.
Really?
Yeah, that's definitely an old story point for Wally West.
So in the epilogue, Wally and the Titans are at a doctor. They call him Dr. Villain, but his name is like Willon or something like that. I don't know if he's supposed to be some doctor from DC Comics history or whatnot. But anyway, he mentions Wally's pacemaker, and they're like, Wally never had a pacemaker. But since Robin did the karate chop or the karate move to Wally's chest, that ended up making it seem like he was dead, but it just stopped his heart for a couple of moments. I guess it messed his heart up. So now he has a pacemaker. So that story will be continued in Titans. Teen Titans will pick up where Kid Flash was kicked out of the team, and then Deathstroke will pick up with him ditching the Deathstroke moniker. But as we've seen in Solicits, he'll form his own team of Teen Titans, which explains why Kid Flash is a member of that team. As seen on the, I think maybe next issue of Deathstroke's cover. So like the end result is kind of cool and interesting, but like it was, I don't know, the Titans, I guess maybe since I don't have that much familiarity with the Titans and Teen Titans DC history, like it seems weird just like seeing these iterations of these characters like meeting for the first time. Mm-hmm. Just felt off.
I mean, I flipped through this. I'm not the person to speak to about this book because I literally just flipped through it just to see what was going on. I know you guys have been reading this and kind of had some good things to say about it. But I too was kind of confused seeing the different versions. I know there's a time travel element to the story, so I'll have to kind of backtrack and see how it all fits together. But I definitely see how this is setting up the future of Deathstroke because of him pulling a Peter Parker basically and hanging it up.
Yeah, basically. So
just short of putting his costume in a trash can, right?
That's basically like the final scene was like him walking away with his like uniform or mask, his helmet on the ground.
Right. Okay.
Did it feel? I guess maybe here's the question: did it feel when they met up? You said it felt weird and seemed kind of off. Was it because it didn't seem like that big of a deal? Like, did they not make as big a deal out of it? It was just like, hey, here's our story. Hey, here we go. Now we know each other. Hey, let's move on.
Kinda, and also, they did the requisite. These team members are going to butt heads because they're meeting for the first time, and it's sort of that typical thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you didn't read it, I feel like you didn't really miss much. So,
gotcha.
Only unless you were reading those 3 books may you have interest in the crossover.
Gotcha. Alrighty. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Anything that's really pressing to speak about? Let's talk about Moon Knight.
Let's talk about Moon Knight. The final issue of Moon Knight.
I know, very disappointing for those of us who are fans of this Lemire run.
Well, it is and it isn't. I was actually talking with someone on Facebook a couple days ago about this, and I'm happy that at least it's ending without some other random writer coming in and doing some other, trying to follow up with some storyline that's, a brand new chapter, and it's like nothing ever happened, and
right.
Opens with him going to the store and buying a loaf of bread. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that it's like this is the end of the story, so this is going to be the end of the run, and they're not, doing anything with it. So it is bittersweet that it's ending, but it was a great ending. It's an ending that was perfect, along with everything that's been leading up to. There have been times where the story took a turn and you thought it was going in a completely different direction, and then it kind of circled around and came back, and
Right.
Stuff that seemed random and out of place had a spot where it fit in and it made sense. Some of the stuff in the last couple issues that didn't seem to, you're just sitting there wondering, like, how is this ever going to fit in? And it
definitely fit in, right?
Yeah, it definitely made sense that he went there and did that stuff. So it's really I don't want to say it's a redefinition of the character, because I think that's the wrong term to use. But it's someone who's been a fan of Moon Knight for a while. The idea that you have all these different versions of Moon Knight, all these different personalities, all these different alter egos over the years, and this does that Jeff Johns trick, where it finds a way to make all those pieces fit together into one, and things that just seem like they shouldn't be there. You'd say, oh, that was something that happened in the 70s, so we'll forget all about that and act like that never happened. And instead, he finds a way to fold it in and make it work with all the rest of the history of the character. So it's a brilliant run. There were many people that thought no one would ever be able to top the last series. Was it Warren Ellis that was doing that one?
I think so.
Yeah.
He started it, at least.
Yeah, and so people thought, oh, he'll never be able to touch that and top that. I think he did. I think this from Jeff Lemire was brilliant. The artwork, Smallwood did most of it, but we had other artists jump in for some of those different segments that were set in different time periods and alternate universes and whatever. And it made for the whole package is just fantastic. I don't think you can be a comic fan and read this and be disappointed. And if you are, I don't know who you are. You must be someone who collects Rob Liefeld stuff. I don't know.
Oh, no. Man.
But this is, I think, as like I said, it's a lot like what Jeff Johns does. And I love when Jeff Johns does all that stuff on the DC side. And that's what Lemire has done here. And the work that he's done on Moon Knight mirrors in a lot of ways the work he's doing on Old Man Logan, which we also got the final issue of his run on that this week. And it was really, as I thought about the two of them, it was really kind of tough. Like, which one am I going to go with, one more than the other? But this being the end of the series and the cap on what he's done with, reinventing this character, reworking the character, reinvigorating the character, just made this the book that you've got to read. I
think reinvigorating is definitely the right, one of the better descriptions of this series, because, and I agree that, this is, I think this is the examination that the character really needed, because he's always been a very surface character for a lot of people because of the look,
right,
and because of how he had been treated. And let's be honest, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but sometimes it might deserve honestly an article on the KLIQ.com. Not that I'm volunteering to write this, but it has to deal with at least a more than surface examination of the character's mental illness. And without being a pop psychologist or sitting down at the whatchamacallit, the therapist chair, that's where a lot of this issue comes from. This series comes from. It's an examination of the character and how his fragile psyche is sort of reconstituted, and he just sort of deals with his permanent mental disease going forward. And it's still a comic book. It's not meant to completely wrap itself around the idea of coping with mental illness and moving forward, but at the same time, it's at least the examination the character deserved and needed, so that we can establish that this character is not just a shiny suit running around who's kind of crazy following the will of Khonshu.
And I think in many ways, the way people saw the Vision story from Tom King,
right,
the way that it dealt with Vision and made him into something he wasn't before with that storyline, that's what this did with Moon Knight.
I agree.
So if anybody who read Vision and you loved Vision and you said Vision is a book that everybody needs to read, well, that was 2016, 2017 is Moon Knight.
Exactly.
You have to read it. This is going to be required Comics 101. It's just fantastic stuff.
It was one of those things. Yeah, it was one of those things because it lasted longer than Vision. We found ourselves, kind of, like you were saying earlier, kind of running into maybe mental roadblocks. Getting to issues where it's like, well, how is this connected? Am I going to stick with this?
Right.
But it was worth it in the end. It was worth it to stick through it because, like I said, it was worth examining this, examining in depth this aspect of the character because it was necessary. Because everyone, like the running joke is that this is just the moon cult, the shiny version of Batman. So, right. And it's not, because there's so much more to the character, and it just needed that kind of depth, that kind of limited series where there was an in-depth examination of the character, his motivations, and even his his thought process and his mental state.
Yeah, and I was going to say, even some of the issues of the mental illness, there were times he almost did this Twin Peaks type thing where he showed you Moon Knight as a child,
right,
and showed you Moon Knight that Stephen Lang, or whatever name he's using, it showed that Stephen Grant, yeah, whatever, that he had issues, but you're never quite sure. Is this really, are we seeing the past, or is this his memory of what happened and the problems that he's had later in life affecting the way he remembers, things happening in the past part of his life? And I think that's also a very interesting part of the storytelling that's gone into
Definitely.
it. So definitely thumbs up. This is actually my click of the week.
Nice. It's definitely a candidate for mine, but I've got another one. What
did Roddy Cat think about that now that he's joined us? Oh, he's still muted.
Hi.
There he is.
Stop. I had not read Moon Knight, so I will take your word for it until I do actually read it. I didn't know this was the last issue, though.
Yeah, last issue in the arc.
Well, I mean, this is the last of the series.
It's the last month of the series over.
Yeah.
So,
unlike Old Man Logan is ending the Lemire's run, but it's going to continue on with different writer.
He also had Thanos 7 out today, or this week, I think.
Was that Lemire also?
Wait,
yep.
Oh, that is Lemire. Man, now I might have to go back and read this.
Isn't he doing Doctor Strange? Or who's doing Doctor Strange? It's not Lemire.
Hopeless.
Dennis
Hopeless.
Because I think that just started, which I still hadn't read this week. But anyway.
That started even though it hasn't ended. The Jason Aaron, Chris Buckler run hasn't ended.
What do you mean? I thought it ended at 20.
Right, 20 comes out next week.
Wait, 20 comes out.
Yeah, they did a flip-flop because of the production issues or deadlines or whatever.
I was wondering, okay, so that explains why I didn't get it. Okay. I was about to say, it was like, wait, well, how am I getting 21 before I got 20? That was weird. Okay, sweet. So, what's up, everybody, and what have y'all done so far?
The Secret Empire books and Teen Titans special.
Okay.
And Moon Knight 14, that's it.
And Moon Knight, I did. So, okay, so when I came in, you were doing Teen Titans. Okay. I really don't have much more to say about that except for the fact that was all three of those little epilogues were really strange endings. Because it seemed like, it was like, well, they were building this up, and then okay, Slade went into the Speed Force, and then all right, I quit. And I was like, oh, okay, that was weird. And then
all it did was just change status quos.
Yeah. So I'm like, wait, it's like that's all it took for him to just go into the Speed Force and then just have a change of heart? I'm like, that seems not so death-strucky. But outside of that, and the rest of that after that, the whole the thing with Wally and the pacemaker was also kind of, I guess, makes sense, but it was kind of weird. I'm like, why do that? But I guess there's something else with that too. So like I said, it was just strange. But outside of that, it is what it is.
You have a book you want to recommend next?
weirdly enough, not weirdly enough, I could either go with Cable or Wonder Woman. So I guess I go with Wonder Woman since that's just where it came from. And that's Wonder Woman Rebirth Annual #1, not the other book that came out. Because I think she's got like 3 or 4 coming out within the next day or 2. But so the first story in this one was, I felt like this should have been in the Trinity album. I mean, annual, which just came out, because it was basically her meeting Batman and Superman. And I noticed a running theme throughout the 3 or 4 stories in this annual seems to have more to do with the Lasso than her, because the Lasso ends up either translating and or correcting things or some kind of it's basically Google Translate at that point for at very least a couple of the stories in this annual. But it was neat. So like I said, it's just like 3 of her stories. Like I said, the first one is her meeting Batman and Superman. The second one is her defending King Shark, who got wrongly accused of something. And then the last couple was her protecting her, sparring with some dude in a village and then saving the village from said dude. And then which will, I'm sure when he sees this, or if he ever gets a chance to read it, Matt Wang will enjoy. Diana ends up fighting a kaiju for a second, but then defending.
Where's the gong? Where's the gong? Where's the gong?
We don't have a gong yet.
But then ends up.
We can do this though.
But then she stops fighting the kaiju and ends up, saving it and then taking it and then having doing something else with it. Nothing. So, and actually, that one kind of stands up because it's the guys that did Joyride, that book. Who do that? I guess that book's still going.
Yes, but
it's those guys doing that one. So
Colin, Jackson Lansing, Colin Kelly.
Yeah, those guys. So that was cool. Like it was kind of weird that the Trinity, that they had that Trinity story in her annual than the Trinity annual. But once you read the Trinity annual, actually still doesn't make sense because you would think what they put in the Trinity album was something they could have done in the book.
Unless they just want to cement, in one of her books that she's one of the key players of the DC universe, beyond her own lore.
They still could have done that with Trinity, though, I think. But that's just me. So it worked out. Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of Wonder Woman, thumbs up, thumbs down, real quick. Thumb in the middle.
For the movie, thumbs up, actually.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Seeing it Saturday.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, between now and the next
show. I still have thoughts to kind of process about it, and the fact that I was in a not great seat in a not great theater that I normally don't go to.
Was the theater not live? When I say live, I mean like actively enjoying the movie.
I mean, there weren't like people hooping and hollering and stuff. It's a smaller movie theater, and it's like the one I usually go to is slightly bigger theater, and this one kind of almost puts you in mind of a dollar theater type of thing.
Understood.
And I was in the wrong seat because, like I said, I was up front. It was crowded, so that was good.
Okay,
but it wasn't like too terribly crowded. But no, people were there. There was nobody being actively crazy or anything. But yeah.
Good deal.
All right. You guys want to move into a couple more books or just get to rapid fire?
Might need to rapid fire it.
Anything else that I'm going to talk about, I can do quickly. I don't need.
Pretty much do all of the rest of mine.
Rapid fire time. Okay.
I've done my 3 books.
Well, that's about as rapid as you can get. He's done.
All right, so let me fly through my list because I've got the longest list. It looks like, Daveocracy #4 is my. I'll save it for later, just for a quick discussion. But spoiler alert, it is my click of the week. Generation X #2 was a very disappointing second issue. I was willing to give this series a go after the first issue, no longer after this issue. Hulk #6, which follows the stories of Jennifer Walters post trauma in at the hands of Thanos. This story would be actually a decent story if it were 3 issues shorter. This is Hulk #6. It took 6 issues to resolve this opening story arc. It did not need this many issues. It just took too long.
I honestly almost forgot this book was still going.
Yeah, it just took too long. This would have been an opening arc, a middle, an opening set, an opening scene, a middle scene, and an end scene. 3 issues would have been completely done perfectly. We talked about Moon Knight #14, Think Tank Animal #3. This is not a good place to jump on. You have to go back to at least the first or second issue. This is definitely more of a setup issue that sets up events to come. Again, the premise is that the scientist who's at the heart of the story has developed technology that now people are appropriating for nefarious means and using them to control animals, which are attacking political leaders and disrupting the geopolitical realm. So that's that. And finally, and I know that PCN_Dirt's not the biggest fan of Robbie Rodriguez's art on Spider-Gwen, but Robbie Rodriguez continues his quirky yet somehow cleaner art. It's somehow gotten cleaner, believe it or not. And I think he's done more to clean it up since he has, I guess, re-engaged with the book, because he is, I believe, officially reneged his retirement plans. Remember, he was talking about retiring because he was dealing with some sort of with a degenerative vision problem. Right. He may be dealing with it now. He may be using this to pay to deal with it. So he's sticking with it. And if you look carefully at the art, it actually looks cleaner. I think either he's doing more inking or more finishing on it digitally, because I know he does it digitally, but the lines are more closed. The lines are crisper. For me, it's actually a runner-up click of the week because it has a great twist on an origin for the Wolverine of this particular Earth 65. So it's actually really, it's actually pretty interesting. It's fun. It's got a lot of spirit. The book is always going to be like that with Latour at the helm. So Dirt, I definitely suggest that you at least try to take a closer look at the book and not be so distracted by the art. I think he's actually doing a better job on the art nowadays.
Denied.
Overruled.
Objection. I don't know.
Hey, there's a sound bite. Anyway.
Exactly. I have to find those. Anyway, those are my books of the week.
Oh, that was it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking through everybody's notes, and I'm like, well, Dirt's is probably the most
I was very sleepy when I put my notes in.
It's very succinct there. It's just like, okay, yeah, there you go.
I got up very early this morning, and so I filled out my notes. It's just like comic books, whatever. Stuff happens.
Not a problem. Well, I'll just breeze through mine. I guess since I brought up Trinity earlier, Trinity annual #1. Apparently we have we have the Evil Trinity coming back, but we also have our Trinity dealing with a re-emerging hero / anti-hero, whoever. Etrigan shows up, and they deal with that. And then the Evil Trinity is kind of behind the scenes watching them do their thing, but kind of ends up helping out a little bit. And in the end, another Trinity, which is already established in another book, ends up being not called into play, but mentioned. So I'm going to assume that that's going to play out some kind of way. And that was pretty much the whole book. Like they didn't do any backups for that one.
Did this tie in at all to the regular series, or was this pretty much a standalone?
So this came after issue 7 when they introduced the quote-unquote Evil Trinity of Luthor and Cersei and Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, whichever you choose.
Okay.
Yeah. So this takes up directly from that. And then Cable #1. I actually ended up liking this one. I wasn't going to pick up this book, but I saw James Robinson was right, and I said I'll give this a shot. And it was pretty much Cable being, zipping through town, gone away, which I thought time was messed up the way you couldn't do that, but I guess you could still do mainline history or something. I don't know.
You can if you're 90s heartthrob Cable.
Apparently so. Apparently so. So he's chasing somebody through time, and apparently that this whoever he's chasing knows he's after him, because every time he's hit a spot, there's someone waiting to go after him. And in the end, somebody did. Spoilers. And that's where that book ends. So
I wasn't planning on reading this either, because I expected it to be more of like Sentinels in time hunting mutants or
really.
whatever, and I was like, I don't know. But they actually gave us a preview of this one too, and so I kind of looked through the preview and I was like, oh, this is actually a time travel story. Like, this is not mutants, this is not dogs chasing mutants in rainy back alleys on islands in the South Pacific, whatever. This is pretty good. So I read it, I enjoyed it. I did not get the hip hop cover though, like you did, Roddy. But
I haven't gotten mine yet.
But yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Now, it does kind of come across as like a bad sci-fi movie.
That was my criticism of it, is that when I read it, it was just kind of basic sci-fi time travel. Like, this is like Sliders or something on TV.
It was kind of more like he was just being, it was like, yeah, he's just a badass, just going through town, looking for somebody and just, wrecking shop wherever he goes until that last part.
Like, I don't know if this could have very easily not been Cable.
Right.
It could have been, John Dorsey, time traveler from the year 2283. It really didn't need to be Cable, but for what it was, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would, and I'm definitely willing to give it a chance in future issues that I normally would not be doing with the X books, and I'm not doing with most of the X books that are out right now. So this one definitely gets points for at least being something different that catches my interest.
All right.
True. And then, let me see, you talked about Teen Titans, so we talked about that. And I think my last one is Occupy Avengers 7, which pretty much wraps up the whole Super Skrull comes to this town of refugee Skrulls and goes on a killing spree. The team's kind of pinned down and they're trying to figure out the next move, but they get an unexpected but expected help from the new character in the book, Wheels Wachowski or something like that. I can't remember. Walensky, excuse me, that's what it is. Who ends up bonding with the van they've been driving around in, and ends up transforming, and he's fighting Super Skrull, and wins the fight. And then Nick Fury comes along, and all goes well. So that's that.
All's well that ends well.
All right. So then I've got a couple then. Flash 23. They throw Barry Allen a birthday party, which of course is the perfect time for Hal Jordan to come visit and for a villain to attack. It's pretty much what you would expect in any sort of buddy superheroes. Someone attacks, all your friends are around, whatever. It does, though, I have to give him credit for dealing with some of the issues that Flash deals with having a secret identity that's not known by a lot of the people in the Rebirth universe. So it did feel a little different than some of the other ones that we've seen. Also, it brought back a villain that you thought was not coming back, which of course you knew was going to come back, and you still don't know how he came back, but he's back. And so that at least, even though the issue itself, the actual plot of this issue was not, any sort of groundbreaking great story, it does lay the foundation for some neat stuff that's going to be coming down the road. And then I think I really only have one more.
No Brave and the Bold references.
I mean, just they're teaming up. But I do have two other books. Let me do first. Dr. Aphra. Did you not read this one, Roddy?
I didn't get a chance to. Not yet, anyway.
All right. So anyway, when there's a Star Wars book, I assume that Roddy, read it 5 minutes.
I didn't have a chance to. Actually, I need to go back and read the Star Wars because I did not read that because I know it's part of that same crossover thing.
Screaming Citadel. So, basically, just to catch everyone up to speed, Dr. Aphra took Luke to meet this woman who's a queen. Once a year, she wants to meet all these random people to try to find someone interesting, and if there's someone interesting, then she grants them a wish. Of course, Dr. Aphra has this Jedi crystal that she wants the queen to, reawaken the Jedi soul that's trapped inside so she can learn all about Jedis and Force powers and whatever from it. So she takes Luke there, and it turns out, we found this out in the end of the first chapter, that this queen is actually a vampire of some sort or another. So Luke isn't there to be super interesting because he has Force powers. He's there because Force powers are yummy, and it'll make this queen much more powerful. So, of course, when everybody else finds out that Dr. Aphra absconded with Luke, everybody else decides that they've got to go hunt her back down. So we get Santa Solo and Han Solo and Leia and everybody else trying to crash this party and get Luke out of there. So, of course, when you've got people chasing one direction trying to get Luke out of there and people chasing another direction trying to capture Luke, and all these crazy shenanigans piled on top of each other, it's just an interesting, fun, not very serious, but lots of good banter and character interactions between everybody in it. So it's these Star Wars books aren't breaking new ground or anything. There's only so much they can do with the established characters and the well-known timelines, but at least they're having some fun with it, filling in those gaps. And it's
we have vampires now, joy.
But they're space vampires.
Yes.
So
yes.
Life Force, if you've seen that movie.
Oh God.
And Old Man Logan. This was runner-up for Click of the Week. This one was really close also. And as you can see by the cover, this is the end of the line. They make reference to the entire run by showing all the covers in the background, which I thought was interesting. Even showing the Old Man Logan issues from the original Wolverine run when the storyline started. But this does wrap up Lemire's run. And basically, Lemire, he's been dealing with the fact that Wolverine can't move beyond his past. Obviously, he came from Secret Wars. He was from another world. He got old. He had a family. Family got slaughtered. Wolverine wandered off and somehow survived the re-quickening or whatever of the Marvel Universe. And he desperately was trying to get back and right some wrongs and save some of those he left behind. And in doing so, he found himself back in his original timeline, back in his world, and has to face whether or not he would return and whether or not he would change things and what he would change and what things would do. And in the end, he realizes that going back was not the joy he had hoped for, but it did allow him to, I don't want to spoil it, but it's like you got to spoil it to understand what happens. Just read it. Everybody read Old Man Logan. Read 1 through 24. It's good stuff. It's this is honestly the most interesting Wolverine has been since they announced the Weapon X stuff originally with Barry Windsor Smith. I don't think there's been anything as cool with Wolverine since those days. This is great stuff.
Jimmy Hudson stuff?
Do what?
Not even the Jimmy Hudson stuff?
Meh. But
okay.
The one thing though with this is that you can really look at this as being Wolverine's midlife crisis for a guy who's already a couple hundred years old, going through a midlife crisis at this point in time. But it does play out very similarly, which I think is why it's so interesting with that character. So there is something towards the end that will change the outlook of Wolverine moving forward. And so I find that to be an interesting way of dealing with the character. So definitely something that you need to check out. And that'll be that, because I don't want to spend forever in a rapid review talking for 10 minutes. All right. Anyone got anything else? No. Whoa, there it was.
Clips of the week. Are we there yet?
Oh.
All right. Well,
Okay.
my click is simple. It's Moon Knight. Mentioned that earlier.
Right, and I mentioned my click of the week. This week is actually the last issue of this volume of Dave. It's a Daveocracy number 4. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it definitely does have a bit of social commentary on current events. But it does, wrap this story up nicely. Has an hit you right in the feels. Definitely lots of cool family interaction between Dave and his family, and it's kind of frightening to see the parallels that that the creative team draws on from current events.
Well, then I guess I'll go with Wonder Woman Rebirth Annual number 1. I would say specifically for the first one with the Trinity, because there was actually some fun banter in that, which I neglected to mention earlier. But it was cute.
And for mine, probably I'll go with Secret Empire Rising number 1.
All right. Cool.
Ad read.
Silence.
No, I think
That's me, isn't it?
yeah, Dirty up the ad read.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that open on a device. I don't know which device I had it on. Okay, give me a second here.
Exactly. Let me find another transition.
Not long enough. Do you have a longer transition?
Intervention.
What? I like those. Those sound great. Can you play another one?
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
All right, there we go. Hey, we'll throw that up on the screen. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, underwear, or your manly goods. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a small payment that helps keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today. And if you shop at Amazon often, bookmark the link or add it as your homepage so that you can help the CSPN every time you order. We thank you for your support.
Nice.
All righty.
Thanks for covering.
Breeze through some of these news stories for tonight. For the cinematic news, Han Solo movie channels Fast and Furious and new leaked speeder racing video. Also, the next Star Wars spinoff will be decided by June. More Star Wars. John Boyega shows off Finn's new blaster.
Kind of just looks like a
The
regular
Silver
gun.
Sable Black Cat Spider-Man film lands a title, director, and release date. Jenkins Thor 2 pitch was Romeo and Juliet in the MCU. And Thor Ragnarok Holt's Sakaar bedroom is incredible, as I guess images of the set piece came up online. We saw Spider-Man Homecoming TV event set to debut new footage. And that's going to be Saturday, June 3rd on the Disney Channel.
God, I've stopped watching all trailers for this now. No more. It's too much.
Which also happens
Guardians
to
of
be
the
Wonder Woman
Galaxy.
Day. Which also will happen to be Wonder Woman Day, and if your local shop may or may not be having something, check it out. Including a couple of Wonder Woman related books that are coming out that day, which will also be on Comixology. They're out there now, but you just can't get them.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 officially made more than the first film.
No surprise.
Logan producer teases more plans for X-23 in the future.
I finally watched Logan, by the way. It was good.
Good. Stranger Things 11 tried out for Logan's X-23 and says it's the best audition she's ever had. The X-Men spinoff New Mutants will be a straight-up horror movie.
Really?
And there's been some casting news with that, which we'll get to. A Stranger Things star is set or in talks to play Cannonball. Luke Cage season 2 will explore effects of his public identity. Defenders will borrow key elements of previous Marvel Netflix series. Finn Jones assures fans that an Iron Fist season 2 announcement is coming soon.
Oh, he should also announce that he's achieved like a black belt or something in something, for God's sake. That's what we'd rather know.
Actor from The Punisher reveals poster for the series.
And it's not the actor.
Batman and Harley. Yeah, that's why it's just the actor, not the person's actual name.
Right.
Batman and Harley Quinn team up in the first trailer for animated DC film.
Okay.
Turns out Joss Whedon has been working on Justice League for quite some time.
Which I think we might have actually talked about, but didn't think about it.
DC's Legends of Tomorrow season 3 lineup is revealed. Wonder Woman director didn't cut a single scene. Chris Pine says men
in a bad way.
Chris Pine says men are not all that smart. We need Wonder Woman.
Speak for yourself, Chris Pine.
In some cases, he might be right, but yeah.
Supergirl's Maggie will return in a recurring role, but not as a series regular. John Barrowman announces his exit from the Arrowverse.
Bye, Malcolm.
Aerostar rallies fans petition for Deathstroke TV series.
So this one's slightly misleading because it actually wasn't him. It was more like some fan was on Twitter saying, "Hey, I like your stuff. This should be a Deathstroke thing," and he just replied, "Say, hey, if you want a Deathstroke thing, go talk to the people."
Gotham's David Mazouz explains how the show can cross over with the Arrowverse. Hellboy reboot also killed BPRD spin-off film starring Abe Sapien.
Oh.
Frank Miller's Sin City to be rebooted as TV series.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does.
The anthology nature of those books works really good. Depending on where it ends up, does it say what network? Did anybody read that?
I don't believe it does actually.
No network yet.
Because if that could be like a Netflix thing where they could do 8 episodes at a time, you know?
I would suspect the Showtime though.
Either way,
For some reason. Yeah.
as long as it's kind of like a prestige format type TV series, that's fine.
Old Forester debuting Statesman Whiskey from Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
I'm just going to go ahead and watch that movie because I have no idea.
And in comic news, Marvel's Black Panther Metal.
Sorry, I was a little slow on the sound effect on that one.
Comics transition.
Mm-hmm.
So Marvel's Black Panther Metal Miniature 2017 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, I guess, was revealed.
I will be ordering this soon.
Justice League of America #7 teases rebirth reboots for a classic villain and some Justice League International heroes. Secret Empire just released its most politically relevant chapter yet.
Next one.
That was issue 1. Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy episode 2 Under Pressure is coming in June. A fascinating graphic novel about the origins of Dungeons and Dragons.
Roddy was referring to X-Men Blue drops a new clue to the fate of the Ultimate Universe. That's the one that you scroll past.
Yeah, hence the Jimmy Hudson stuff, because apparently it has to do with that.
Okay.
Interesting.
There's a roster leak for Marvel versus Capcom Infinite.
What?
Possible. I mean, yeah.
Young adult writer, author Rainbow Rowell signs with Marvel. She's going to write the Runaway series with Chris Anka on art. Then Hero joins Hydra in Secret Empire #3.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier.
The CBR
Bob
article
Liefeld
kind of spoils it if you look at the tab, which is funny.
Oh yeah, and I guess it wasn't in news, but Sunspot was casted for New Mutants.
We talked about it last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that just came out today.
No, it came out last week.
Okay.
Oh, look at this.
Bob Liefeld. Huh?
Yeah, look at this next one. I'm waiting for you to read it.
Rob Liefeld named first inductee to Wizard World Hall of Legends. Wildstorm, a celebration of 25 years, and includes
Sorry.
art.
I'm sorry, Tim. I'm sorry to the sound effect all over that one.
But I think Wildstorm just got some friendly fire there.
Rob Liefeld actually being the first inductee to the Wizard World Hall of Fame absolutely deserved.
He was given so much.
That's all I got to say to that.
Yeah, but it's Wizard World.
I know. That's exactly why.
He's a star for them, probably, maybe.
That's too funny. I'm sorry about that, Tim. Go on.
There was an exclusive preview of Mike Mignola and Christopher Golden's Joe Golem, Occult Detective #1, and IDW Star Trek: The Next Generation 2017 Free Comic Book Day book is now on Comixology.
Cool.
Boom.
All right.
Last ad read of the night.
Oh, yep, I've got it. Where'd it go? I made sure to have them ready here. All right, here we go. Tonight's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/comicbookchronicles. Over 150,000 titles to choose from your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. For you, the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. There are so many great wrestling books, such as The Best in the World at What? I Have No Idea by Chris Jericho. The King of New Orleans, How the Junkyard Dog Became Professional Wrestling's First Black Superhero by Greg Klein. And Wrestling for My Life, The Legend, the Reality, and the Faith of a WWE Superstar by Shawn Michaels. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/comicbookchronicles. Again, that's audibletrial.com/comicbookchronicles for your free audiobook.
Just real quick, in the toy corner of the Comic Book Chronicle, I got the Invisible Woman Marvel Legends from Walgreens today. It came in, by FedEx. So shout out to
Herbie.
Yes, it does have Herbie.
Oh.
Walgreens.
I had to buy that and throw away the Invisible Woman and just keep the Herbie.
Walgreens or Dwayne Reed, people.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go by there and get that. Hopefully they'll have one.
Is that $20?
Yep.
Oy.
Follow us on our individual Twitter accounts. I'm at CBCron and at DOGG98. Agent 70 is at Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. Roddy Cat is at Roddy Cat and at News Nerds Needs. And Doug is at PCN_Dirt and go to his website, popculturenetwork.com. And
CB
go to the comic of the month. Grant, was it a Graham comic reviews?
No, it's dead. It's
Oh,
it just is not. No.
not worth.
I mean,
time.
maybe if I do anything more with it in the future, you're just going to see photos of me holding a book and being like, or like.
But if you go to comicofthemonth.club and use referral code DIRT, you get what? A comic of the month?
Yeah, they give you a few bucks off your first month when you sign up. But we've talked about Comic of the Month Club here several times on the show. It's fantastic. If you like comics, sign up for it. You're not going to be disappointed because you get to pick the types of books that you're going to get in your box, so you'll never be disappointed. And there's always some great gems that they throw in there.
Boom.
All right.
And with that, we'll be back next week. Same Comic Book Chronicles time, same Comic Book Chronicles channel. That channel being YouTube. We are the Comic Book Chronicles, and we are signing off.
Peace!